Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. Who could complain on a day like today? I'm loving my life. Who could complain? I can complain about Midjourney today. Midjourney did not give me my thumbnail. It's one of the first times we do not have a Midjourney thumbnail today, which is a bummer because they do the best ones. Love that thumbnail. Yeah, but it's only okay. The Midjourney ones are just better. Not really, huh? I got to figure out this little sunspot that I get over there. So yeah, it's okay. Be your best. It's only okay. I see be your best telling me decisions. Be your best. Yeah, it's. I'm glad you love it. I wish it was a little better. I do like the Midjourney aesthetic more than this is ideogram I had to use. I got banned again. I was banned all morning from Midjourney. It starts throttling the time for which you are banned. So I got banned for like 1 minute, no volume. Ooh, do I have a volume problem here? I think I'm okay. It says I'm okay. You guys tell me if it's be your best you, because I can't tell. Never mind. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. There you go. That's what I was hoping for. Aqualodge, good morning. Christine, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Be your best you. Decisions. Rumble, X, or YouTube. Well, you know, it's up to you guys. CB, can't complain. You know, I would like to say not YouTube, but it's still just the best entertainment out there. I'm a YouTube subscriber. Good morning, all you Bitcoin plebs. Good morning, Edwin. Hope you're doing well. Howdy, Bitcoin Deb says it is a great thumbnail. Yeah, it's okay. I've created better ones. Audio is good, Kevin says. Sound is good, Edwin says. Excellent. Thank you all. I hear you. Thanks, Bitcoin Deb. Good morning and good day, Zappa BTC. Good morning. Have to see the different takes on races on ChatGPT. You can only criticize. Yeah, I've seen that, B-Man. I've seen that. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Pretty funny stuff, right? All right. Let's see what's going on here. Let me get my notes ready. All right. So, you know, we got some sun pouring in the little cracks here. All right. The flag is down, but Bitcoin's running. We're doing great. Let's have a coffee. Talk about what's new. There we go. So, let's start with some Moscow time. Let's find out what kind of fake news we got going on today. You know, I've been loving the summertime, where is it hot stuff. It just keeps coming, and there's so much good stuff today on where is it hot. So there's an extra special one in there, which I'm going to share with you. You're going to love it. So first, this comes from Bloomberg Green. All right, what does Bloomberg Green say? A bellwether for the effects of climate change. Where do you think a bellwether for the effects of climate change is? Where do you think we're going? Is it Malaysia? Is Malaysia a bellwether? Is India? Is it Mexico? Where is it hot? Is it Central California again? We don't know. All of these bellwethers, right? It's so different when they're hot in the summer. No. Here's Bloomberg Green's bellwether. Ready? A bellwether for the effects of climate change. Egypt. The desert, the Sahara Desert is a bellwether. Egypt offers a glimpse of what awaits economies worldwide facing record-breaking summer heat. It's India. It's not India. No, it's not India. It's Egypt. Egypt is hot. It's June. It's so hot in Egypt, but we can all learn from Egypt. Don't we have so much to learn from Egypt? They're dealing with climate change every day. It's so hard. It's the worst. It's a bellwether. But Canada, what's going on in Canada, right? They couldn't quite give it the gas they wanted, right? So in Canada, CTV News reports Canadians can expect above seasonal temperatures this summer. Canada seasonal temperatures? No way. Anyone who spent like 1 season in Canada understands that there's no like typical weather. It was 90 degrees last week, and then it went down to 60 this weekend, and it's gonna go back up to 90 and then back down to 60. But typical, above average, right? And it gets worse. It's not just Canada that's not going to have extreme heat. We can't use the Egyptian model, the bellwether Egyptian model. It's not going to apply to Canada. It's not just Canada. Okay, so we can expect above seasonal in Canada, but over in England, unfortunately, they have to resign themselves. This is from, I think, the Telegraph or the Times. The Times is telling us, resign yourself to an old-fashioned British summer. It's old-fashioned, but resign yourself. You don't get to follow the Egyptian model, okay? Now, if none of that, well, we'll talk about Egypt again in a second, but this is just perfect. This came from the New York Times today, so this is my special entry today for the heat conversation for Where Is It Hot? Now, we found out that it's hot in Egypt. Egypt, okay? Now, I know they're covering it. They're on it, right? Where is it hot? Mexico, India, Malaysia, now Egypt, right? Where is it hot? Not so much Canada, thankfully, right? We learned a little above average. England, old-fashioned, right? Resign yourself. It's old-fashioned. But the New York Times here, not a joke, all right? This is a serious article. They ask, a new way to talk about heat. So the New York Times is just writing headlines for us now, okay? So this is what they actually wrote. Record-breaking temperatures are pushing experts and public health officials to come up with a new vocabulary to warn the public about extreme heat. It's not working. They're not. A bellwether situation in Egypt didn't work. What do you mean? What do you mean? The monkeys falling out of the trees in Mexico didn't work? Why? What's happening, right? So this is an actual article written by Austin Grafney or something like that. And he's saying, a new way to talk about heat. Why won't that look? Yeah, there. A new way to talk about heat, right? We don't have enough ways. People aren't listening. We need new ways to talk about heat. New, okay? And it's not going to work if we just say that England has to resign itself to normal temperatures. That's not going to be good enough, right? What do we find out, though? But they're not done. London, they might have to resign themselves. They can't use the Egyptian bellwether climate change mitigation model that we're all learning from. We're all learning from Egypt, right? The bellwether model that we can all learn from. But they're not done. It's not over for them, right? They got other things to worry about in London, right? Although it might not be hot, this is what's in store for you. This also, according to the Telegraph, why London, New York, and Shanghai should be worried about Antarctica's doomsday glacier. So even though it might be, normal, and even though places like Canada aren't going to be too hot, be careful, because researchers say the vigorous melting, it's vigorous melting now. It's vigorous. The melting of Antarctica is vigorous. It's vigorously melting, right? So what they say here is that it could push up sea levels faster than expected. So, even though you might get some warmth, there's going to be a big ice cube that goes into the ocean, and the big ice cube is going to raise the sea levels in London. So if it's not the heat, it's the ice cubes in the water, okay? So they shouldn't get too worried. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We need a new vocabulary. Monkeys falling out of trees, that wasn't good enough. That there's new ways to talk about all this stuff. We got to learn them all. They're really important, but hold your horses, everyone. We might get some relief from the big time heat. The Egyptian model, we might not need it, okay? We might save all the monkeys in Mexico. Why? Because the New York Times letting us know again this weekend, Christopher Flavel writing the following article, environmental group to study effects of artificially cooling the earth. What a good idea. These are my favorite articles now. The Environmental Defense Fund, entering controversial territory, will spend millions of dollars examining the impact of reflecting sunlight into space as global warming worsens. The Egyptian model, right? And just so we're aware, there's new stuff coming, right? But Hillary Clinton had to add to the conversation yesterday. She's in the New York Times, or the LA Times, pardon me. Boiling point. Hillary Clinton wants more climate stories on Netflix. The monkeys falling out of the trees in Mexico. Blockbuster hit on Netflix. What are we going to do with the monkeys? What about the Egyptian model? Let's all go follow Egypt, right? There's a story right there. There's a story right there. There's got to be a Netflix show about the brave cloud seeding weather manipulators in Egypt. They're the best. We love the Egyptians about all this stuff. It's so good. We love the Egyptians. All right. So, and this one's just kind of funny, right? So that's our weather report for the day. You got to have the weather report. We got to know where it's hot, right? Oh, yeah. Hold on. There was more advice for television. It wasn't just Hillary. Hillary said not enough climate stories on Netflix. But in Canada yesterday, we also had some content advice from the Canadian government. So they had a study, right? A Canadian media study says they're not portraying enough LGBTQ plus community on the big screen. So it's got to be climate change and the way people like to have sex. So there's not enough climate porn. Like, I don't mean climate porn as in doomsday glaciers, doomsday icebergs. I don't mean that kind of climate porn. I don't mean that. I mean like actual porn with climate change mixed. So we got a chance here, right? We got a real chance. Just not hetero porn. We don't want that. We want the other kinds. Okay. That'll be more inclusive. So it'll be better. It'll be better. All right. These are funny headlines. This comes from the Washington Post. Banana giant Chiquita Brands International must pay more than $38 million in damages to victims of a. So maybe the bananas were like unhealthy, like, you know, I don't know what was going on with the bananas. Well, let's find out. But don't ask questions after this because we don't know what's going on. Banana giant Chiquita Brands International must pay more than $38 million in damages to victims of a Colombian paramilitary group the company was found liable for financing in the 90s and 2000s. The banana company, there's always money in the banana stand, right? There's always money in the banana stand. This is a good one from Canada. I'm not laughing at this, guys. This isn't a funny headline. It's dark, okay? Man who set woman on fire aboard Toronto bus found not criminally responsible of her death. I didn't mean it. I was sad. I was worried about climate change. I didn't mean to burn that human on the public bus. I didn't mean to do that. I'm upset. I was upset about climate change. I'm sorry. My bad. I didn't want to add any more emissions. But I was like, no one cares about emissions. So I had to burn that human. Right? It's no big deal. Not responsible. Come on, Canada. I'm sad. I'm not bad. I'm just sad. Okay. It's okay if I burn people on a public bus. It's all right. Come on. How could I be responsible for that? How could I? I live in Canada. Come on. What did I do wrong? Nothing. So that's good. This is good too. This comes from the Washington Post, right? Things aren't going so well. They're seeing some polls, Democrats kind of down, right? Kind of looking like losers, kind of looking lame and stupid, right? Looking really dumb, right? So what are they saying in the Washington Post? They're saying Democratic efforts to lure young voters include beer and birth control. Give it to them. Let's go. Give them the beer and the birth control. Let's go. The donor-funded experiments target young voters in major metropolitan areas and a few states who, if they do vote, tend to favor Democrats. So they're going around giving people beer and birth control. Let's do it. Oh, these are good too. This is a Hunter Biden verdict headlines. They're really good. We got some good ones. What the Hunter Biden verdict means for 2024. This is from our friend Aaron Blake. Aaron Blake, he wrote we don't have to worry about the age of the candidates. It's their judgment. It's the judgment of the candidates, right? He had that article yesterday. Here he's back today. What the Hunter Biden verdict means for 2024 or doesn't. He says the verdict appears unlikely to move votes, but it could affect arguments and views about the justice system. So that means you can't go out and say no one is above the law. The president, the ex-president, and the president's son, not above the law, right? It's perfect. The Associated Press writes, President offers love and pride for his son's addiction recovery after Hunter Biden's guilty verdict. Wasn't that nice? I'm glad his dad did that, right? CTV News writes, in Canada, Biden speaks on gun safety hours after his son found guilty on firearms charges. And now we have the people who think they're going to die, right? These are excellent stories. There's a bunch of these today. So we got AOC. They're going to throw me in jail. She had that one yesterday, but we also got now the what's her name? She looks like a boy with the glasses. Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow worried Trump will send her to camps if she's elected. She's going to go to a camp, she says, right? And then we get Merrick Garland wrote an article today in one of the stupid papers. And he says, unfounded attacks on the Justice Department must end. He says, conspiracy theories, falsehoods, and threats of violence against DOJ personnel are not normal, right? It's not normal. So there you go. There you go. Robert Schmidt says, oh no. That's a good one, Robert. I like it. I love it. A guy at work. I asked for Bon matin tous. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Where Do I Sats? Hope you're doing well out in the Grand Nord du Québec. Hope there's not too many bugs. There should be gone by now, though. It should be gone by now. There should be gone. All right. So let's get into our story of the day. And I do have a board. We got a board today. We got a board. We're doing some board work. All right. So the theme today was about red herrings and hallucinations and how follow the money really does work to help create a worldview that's worth a damn. And the thing I'm talking about today involves the Hunter Biden verdict and what people are saying about it. So first of all, a lot of people talking about this being a red herring. So you've got Vivek Ramaswamy saying the following: I said it before and I'll say it again. The Hunter Biden trial was a sham. It's a smokescreen to legitimize the Trump conviction and to deflect attention from the Biden family's actually likely crimes, selling off our foreign policy to make their family rich. Don't fall for it. So a few other people said that, right? Thomas Massey, Hunter might deserve to be in jail for something, but purchasing a gun is not it. There are millions of marijuana users who own guns in this country, and none of them should be in jail for purchasing or possessing a firearm against current laws. So I've said this from the beginning. I think Hunter Biden, the gun thing was bullshit, right? I've said it from the very beginning. He can have guns. I don't care if crackheads have guns. I'm a maximalist when it comes to the Second Amendment. Don't have a problem at all with Hunter Biden with the gun thing. And any Republican who is out there celebrating the gun charge on Hunter Biden is an idiot, right? You're very dumb if you're out there saying Hunter Biden goes to jail, because indeed it is exactly what it looks like, right? This turns into one of these things where you're actually giving a license and a precedent to go after MAGA people, Republicans. How many Democrats are out there saying, oh, we love our guns, right? We need to have our gun stuff. This is actually a predicate to go after people who disagree with gun laws. That's why Biden turned this into a gun issue, why he was talking about guns yesterday, talking about gun reform and gun laws, used the whole day for it, right? And you did notice, I'm sure, a bunch of Sandy Hook stuff yesterday, and because anytime you start getting into these gun conversations, it brings up all those emotional cases, right? So now you've got all these things that are going on with Hunter, and indeed, you're not seeing anyone follow up with the Farah story, right? You're not seeing anyone follow up with the actual things that look criminally very bad here. And Elon said the same thing. He says Hunter's private shenanigans are not a big deal, in my opinion. Live and let live. However, damaging the integrity and credibility of the United States is unacceptable, as that dishonors the country. Now, you can see how red herrings work from this model. This is one that I made a while back, and it is about persuasion, but also about how to do magic tricks and divert someone's attention. And the red herring is a typical magic trick. So red herring is just, as I understand it, historically comes from being able to lure animals away for hunting purposes, I guess. The actual smell of the herring would lead them into traps so they could be trapped and killed. That's my understanding of how it works. So it was like a diversionary thing that would allow you to hunt people, right? So not so different than what's happening here. Everyone's saying, "Yay, hunters in jail, gun offense. No one is above the law." If you find yourself saying no one is above the law, not ironically, like not as in I use no one is above the law now when I hear anyone talking about, well, what's Trump going to do after this? Well, no one's above the law. I'm sorry, no one's above the law. So you don't really want to be on that side, though, right? You don't want to be on that side. So the way this thing works is you take this privileged moment. This works with all kinds of technology. This is what the algorithm does, right? The algorithms that are assigning you opinions are constantly using this system in order to get you to believe the patterns you're being presented. The way it works is you get that privileged moment, right? That moment in time, and that's usually what a president is doing at a press conference or in a private meeting or whatever it is. So they do this thing, right? They give you the privileged moment, and then and then they go with the focused illusion, right? So they go with the focused illusion. The focused illusion is where you start to see in this case, no one is above the law. Hunter Biden paid for his crimes, right? So the privileged moment is giving all this attention to Hunter Biden. It's about family. It's about addiction, right? The focused illusion here then becomes no one is above the law, right? Even he's getting prosecuted. The assumed causality here is that these things work together, that no one is above the law. He's been caught. His dad is talking about it. He's not going to pardon him. We get this focused illusion, right, where now the legal system treats everyone the same. The assumed causality then becomes very simple, right? We live in this democratic system, and that's where you end up getting because if you didn't have this illusion, people would start to see the survival piece would kick in and say, wait a minute, they're only going after Republicans, they're getting hunted. Wait a minute, this is a problem, right? But if you put Hunter into the same situation, it's obvious, right? You can have this smokescreen, this red herring that you can use to distract and divert by saying, look, everyone gets prosecuted. But don't look at these other things. Don't look at the taxes and the money laundering and the Ukraine thing, right? Because that's what it's been about for a long time. We see lots of people talking about it, right? We see Greg Price. Greg Price was the producer for Tucker Carlson's show for many years when he was on Fox, saying Hunter Biden convicted of a felon firearms charge is the ultimate red herring of red herrings. The DOJ allowed the statute of limitations to expire on his most serious tax charges, buried evidence of the Biden's foreign bribery allegations, and attempted to give Hunter a sweetheart deal with broad immunity. David Weiss wouldn't go after him on the serious tax charges or on Farah because all of that would lead back to the shady business dealings involving his father. Instead, they went after him for a much lesser charge where the evidence was way too insurmountable to ignore, so they can scream, nobody is above the law when they put President Trump in jail. Indeed, that's what it looks like here. Now, the way to tell if this is happening or not, right? The way to tell if you're being, because this is a type of magic trick and it's very easy to hide. Very easy to make this all seem normal because this is how the human brain operates, right? You see something, your fight or flight instinct kicks in, you do the cause and effect in your brain, and then once the threat is neutralized in your mind, you move on, right? That's the normal process, a normal way the brain works. What this requires to work, though, where you can tell if you're verging into the world of manipulation and not just operating in reality using these normal. This is hard-coded. You can't avoid this stuff, right? Everybody thinks this way. So because you can't turn it off, because it is your operating system, the thing you have to watch out for is hallucinations. How much stuff you have to add to the picture in order for this to make sense. That's the focused illusion, right? When you see this piece here, the focused illusion, what that really means is hallucination. So the hallucination is what gets you between reality and the fake world. So if it's reality, right, these become hard to vary assumptions that you can't really hallucinate your way out of, right? So it's an important thing because the hallucination piece is what allows people to be diverted off the track and to go believe all this stuff. Now, the contrast with hallucinations, the thing that can get you actually anchored in reality is follow the money, right? Follow the money usually doesn't require you to hallucinate things. Where is this going? What's happening? Follow the money, and you can normally fill in the blanks without hallucinating anything, because you can see the incentives, you can see the deal people are getting from taking these different opinions. So in the case of the money laundering with the Biden family and the criminal organization they were running. Now, if I would to go ahead and say, well, maybe this was always a CIA op, maybe it wasn't just plain old corruption, that might be the case, right? That's what Mike Benz has been saying for quite a while, that the family involved, like the way the Biden family operated with what was going on in all of these situations with all the family members. That's what Mike Benz has been saying for a while, is that it was probably some kind of an op, and that's why there's been shielding. There might have been a good reason to do it. I don't know, right? But we caught this video yesterday of Joe Biden, pardon me, speaking with Poroshenko, the old Ukrainian leader, basically telling him that Trump was about to figure this stuff. This was in 2016, 2017, at the start of all of this stuff, when Trump was president, and Biden was worried that Trump would get sophisticated about everything, is what he called it. So he said, you have to nationalize this bank, you have to get the IMF loan. So follow the money, right? Lets you know what's going on. So you had at that time in 2016, 2017, an administration in America that was out of power, maybe working on something that if we saw the details we could agree with, but it doesn't really matter, right? It proves that we didn't have civilian control of the military, which to me is, we've been convinced of that for a long time here, but shows that if you follow the money, you'll understand very quickly who's in charge of this country. And it wasn't the president of the United States. We haven't had civilian control of the military for who knows how long. I mean, really, who knows how long, right? There's no way to tell. Maybe Eisenhower, I think, had it, right? I think Eisenhower had it, but it's been gone ever since. So the hallucination part is really important. And the only way to counter those hallucinations is to follow the money, because if you follow the money, you don't have to guess and imagine what is motivating people, other than these edge cases, like I just said. Were the Bidens operating in the national interest for U.S. protection and safety? Maybe, but we don't have to figure that out. What the important thing is that we found out for sure that the U.S. government does not have civilian control of the military for whatever reason. It might be a good reason, right? But it doesn't matter. The fact remains that this happened, and we see the repercussions of it. We don't need to hallucinate them, right? They become all very obvious to us. So the hallucination thing is really big and really important. And it's what's often used against Trump, of course, right? So the follow the money thing is important, but the hallucination things, because of who Trump is, the door is always open to it, right? And what he is exactly is a bully, right? He bullied people, I guess, when he was young, or he gives off the vibe of being a bully to people. I don't know any of that stuff, right? But I can tell he does affect people who have been bullied in a very particular way. And those people are very easy to get to hallucinate, right? That's why the Rachel Maddow stuff works the way it works, right? She's out there worried Trump will send her to camps. It's very easy for people to imagine that, right? It's very easy for people to imagine that. But what you don't get is the counter to it, right? You don't get the things like, here's Walter Kern, my friend and colleague, journalist Matt Taibbi, along with many, many others in the press, is right now, not in some imagined future, on a formal enemies list put out by the Ukrainian organization with ties to U.S. government interests. I repeat, right now. Cover the story. So you get all these people saying, oh, she's in big trouble, Rachel Maddow, people covering the story. Meanwhile, Jack Posobiec, all kinds of people yesterday were found out to be on another one of these Ukrainian kill lists, right? So, and these are journalists, generally journalists. So you get all these people on these lists. You don't have to hallucinate it. It's there, right? Follow the money. And that's why you get Mike Benz saying this, right? The 51 spies who lied call their lying about the Biden laptop patriotic for the same reason that the CIA calls its on-the-job lying patriotic. This was a CIA job. Burisma is a part of a CIA job in Ukraine. The CIA lied about the laptop to cover for its in-process CIA job. Follow the money, right? We don't have to know all the details, but enough of it is there. Now, the reason I'm bringing up the follow the money thing and why it's so important is because if you contrast that with what Trump did yesterday, right? Trump met with all the Bitcoin miners yesterday. He met with David Bailey. He met with all kinds of people I know. Amanda Fabiano had a picture with him. I produced all the mining content with her for the Bitcoin shows. She was in the meeting. You had all these people hanging out with Trump yesterday. And what did Trump come out and say? It's not so much that Trump was like, America, Bitcoin. Listen to what he said, and you'll start to understand, I think, how quickly Trump is actually able to understand policy. So I don't even think I copied it. I almost memorized it, so I think I can just say it. Basically, he said that Bitcoin is the only bulwark against CBDCs. Check, right? And then he said it's the way for America to get energy dominance, to become energy dominant again. So Trump he totally understands Bitcoin. He understands the whole field now. There's nothing left for him to guess. We don't have to hallucinate, right? Trump has now told us that he gets how the grid works. He understands how Bitcoin integrates into the grid. And this is a huge change. I mean, we suspected he would get it pretty quickly. But now that it's integrating with his own energy policy and his own financial policies, you start to be able to see that this is a guy not like most political leaders out there. I've always believed him to be capable of understanding sophisticated, difficult policy very, very quickly. And he was able to do it again yesterday. You know, he has his own unsophisticated way of doing it. Did you hear what he said when he went to this is great. When he went to the David Sachs fundraiser, right? So he goes to the David Sachs fundraiser and he wrote a Truth Social post about it. Now, because of the way he talks, it's almost impossible to do it justice, but I can try and remember what he said. He just said something like, there was all these smart guys there, really AI guys, AI guys, AI guys. But he's correct. That's a good way to describe it. And he goes, and they like high IQ people, right? That's why they don't like that stupid Joe Biden, right? And they like me. I'm pretty high IQ. AI guys, smart guys, AI guys. Isn't that great? AI guys. But I think he understood the Bitcoin with the AI and the mining. Those are the people he spoke with yesterday. And for him to walk out of the meeting the way he did, and to so clearly cite Bitcoin Magazine, to retweet or retruth or whatever post Bitcoin Magazine in an understanding of how this stuff works, shows that we're not dealing with a normal, typical political huckster here. This is someone who is giving us full view into his thought process, and it becomes very easy to understand that he's on top of the target, is following the money. And so, there you go. Yeah, Crypto Truth. Funny story about living in Maryland as a child, walking home in the snow from school. Yeah, no, the bully thing is well, I mean, I don't know if he was a real bully when he was a kid or not. I just know he gives off the vibe to some people. Now, I don't have the same aversion to bullies that some people do, but I've always given people space who don't like Trump for this reason. Right. I never tried to persuade every single person on Trump all the time because of the bully thing. And you saw it yesterday. And I guess this is the hallucination thing, too. That girl that everyone was talking about yesterday, this girl, right? Basically saying just that, right? Saying, get the nerds out of here. Now, a lot of people think she's an op, but that's a hallucination thing, right? Who knows? It doesn't really matter. But indeed, when you think about and Zuby had a post about this, right? We got to stop calling the elite, right? We got to call them nerds and all these different names. And he was making fun of them all. Indeed, you got to think that way. And she's in the same case as Trump in that way, right? Coming off as a bully and saying we got to bully these fucking nerds again and put them in their corner, right? To a certain extent, it's true. But what you can do with this, what the kind of hallucinations you can invoke with this kind of stuff is always dangerous, right? So it's a weak spot of Trump that this bully thing is there, because it produces the ability to hallucinate. You know how many people talk about her being an op now? And because it allows you, the bully thing allows you to create an opening for all these hallucinations, especially with people who have that trauma. So you gotta give people space on the bully thing. You really do. This stuff is so deep and so psychologically damaging, and you can't get everyone to accept what's going on with this stuff. So, anyway, her videos are great. They're hilarious. She has a whole bunch. She got fired, I guess, from a job because she used the N word, but like the one where Black people use it ends with the A, and it's the friendly one, right? So she said she liked poor N word like that, and so everyone got all upset. And there you go. But indeed, go back to the follow the money piece, and this is what David Sachs said. He goes, the cover up is worse than the crime. He says the old Washington adage, the cover up is worse than the crime, has never been more true than in the Hunter Biden case. The charges on which he was convicted today have rightly been described as rinky-dink and divert from a much bigger scandal involving foreign influence payments to Hunter and other members of the Biden family. This is the story that intelligence officials worked successfully with the Biden campaign to conceal from the American public prior to the 2020 election. The FBI seized Hunter Biden's laptop from the repair shop in December 2019, almost a year before the 2020 election. That was the Bureau's response. What was the Bureau's response? Did it begin an investigation into Hunter's shady foreign dealings and potential FARA violations? As the Twitter files exposed, the FBI began telling trust and safety executives from social networking companies to be on the lookout for a Russian hack and leak operation involving Hunter Biden, priming these executives to censor the story. So this is exactly how the persuasion thing works, right? This is how and why I created this board, right? This is exactly how it works. You get that privileged moment. That's what the FBI was doing. They were taking these folks in, getting these folks, giving them the privileged moment, focusing their attention on the illusion, the exact way a magician functions and operates, the exact way. This is exactly how magicians operate. So, but once you see the trick, that magic tricks don't work anymore, right? That's why the hallucination, the imagining and filling in the blanks is so important here, right? So then he goes on, when the New York Post story broke, 51 former intelligence officials, including 5 former directors of the CIA, wrote their infamous letter claiming the laptop was Russian disinformation. We now know from the sworn testimony of former CIA acting director Mike Morell that the letter was coordinated by the Biden campaign operative, now Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Note that the intelligence community adopted the same Russian disinfo cover story that the FBI had incepted with social networks. Indeed, the letter became the expert confirmation the social networks needed to suppress the story. What's the takeaway? The Biden campaign knew it had a problem a year before the election. A phony narrative was invented that the Russians were behind the story. The FBI communicated this narrative on social networks, blah, 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 blah. As Matt Taibbi said, by any marker, this is an enormous news story. If we go by the usual measuring stick of an American scandal, the Watergate story, this potentially meets or exceeds that on almost every level. Does it reach into the current White House? Check. Was it a craven attempt to subvert the electoral process? Check again. Did a presidential candidate engineer a massive public deception? Yes, resoundingly. Did it involve intelligence agencies? Yes, and these weren't amateurs like Nixon's plumbers. These were 50 of the most powerful people in the intelligence world conspiring to meddle in domestic politics at a grand scale. Taken together with the IC's participation in the Russiagate hoax during the Trump presidency, the security state has shown a brazen willingness to interfere in electoral politics on behalf of their preferred candidate. This is not democracy, it is a subversion of it. There's only one way to send the message that it is unacceptable. Vote for the candidate they hate on November 5th. So there you go, guys. We're getting everything we wanted. Things couldn't be better. And I think Trump, other than the death thing, he's got to pick the right VP so that it isn't an excuse to blow him away. I continue to go back to Vivek. Even Vivek wasn't on the short list, but it's got to be what happens. So there you go. Crypto Truth. I don't think Trump is a bully, just a strong-willed person who isn't hallucinating. Yeah, me too. I mean, it doesn't matter if we think he's a bully or not. Enough people do, and he lets off that vibe, right? So it's never been a problem for me, but I recognize it in others, and I don't. I try to pull back, If people want to talk about Trump, I've always been willing. It's been one of my favorite. I mean, basically all I've talked about since 2014, 2015 is Bitcoin and Trump. That's it. So watching these two things merge is hilarious. And Atlantis. We love Atlantis, right? We love Atlantis. What's your take on Jason Lowry? Yeah, I'm not an anti-Jason Lowry guy. I get it. All I'll say is the best thing he ever did was his infograph. And the whole book was the infograph that he sort of launched his public career with, the protection of property things. Very great infograph. The whole book, you don't need to read the book. The book is dumb compared to the infograph. But I will say, and this is, I guess, where some of the maxis have a problem with him, or some of the Bitcoiners, that he sort of stood on the shoulders of other people who'd all figured this out first. True, right? So he didn't really make any new arguments, but the infograph was excellent. I mean, I hadn't seen anyone do that good of an infograph about what it is, and he said it succinctly. So a better writer than philosopher, I guess you can say, and not really the greatest strategist in the sense that everybody knew this, but he was the first to write it down succinctly, and so I think good on him, and I don't have a problem with what he says, and generally like it. Now, I guess personally, he lets off really weird vibes because I've tried to book him for shows and all this stuff, and it's always bullshit. It's just always, oh, I'm busy. And then, but I am going to be there, but I can't commit because I'm, he's always worried about OPSEC and stupid shit like that. So, I mean, get over that stuff. Maybe he was trained that way. I don't know. But very tedious person to deal with. I've never met him, but I've tried to book him. And so I had a lot of back and forth, and overly stressed out, I guess. But man, what do I know? I don't know what things cause him problems and stress in life. So don't know. But love the infograph. The argument makes sense. He did not invent it. So I guess that's my only criticism. There is a little bit of there's a little bit of like citation sort of respect you got to follow in Bitcoin. You can't if something came out first in like Nakamoto Institute, you can't go around saying it's your idea. Right? Like, because everybody thinks they were the first to think of whatever it is in Bitcoin, but that's one of the humbling things Bitcoin does. You find out actually people figured this stuff out a long time ago, and so not wanting to go through that is kind of a thing, Real bullying was in the 90s. Yeah, there was. I mean, I remember it. I remember the bully thing. Hot this morning. Global warming. Crypto Truth says it's his coffee's hot. Oh no. Yeah. The good old days when the population understood what and why limited government was written into our Constitution. Totally right. All right, team. I got to do a short one today. I got some stuff to take care of, but I'm glad you came. Glad we hung out. Glad we got to talk about all the fun stuff. It's maximum winning. Real fucking bummer about, pardon the swearing, but real bummer about Midjourney with the censorship this morning. I mean, I'm so angry about that. I don't want to pay them anymore. How could, the amount of blocks they gave me, and now it's up to like 20 minutes that I can't prompt it again. That's how it punishes you. It creates a further time every time you fuck up the prompt. And I mean, okay, at first it was Revolutionary War. I said, okay, they don't want him dressed as a soldier. No problem, right? That's new. And then I had him with a scepter. And then the scepter, maybe it's a scepter. And I pulled everything out. I pulled all the junk out. Colonial era. In the end, it was just colonial era Trump. And I was going to put the Bitcoin in myself. 15-minute, 20-minute break. So, and that's new. They were not messing with Trump images before. I was getting great Trump images out of Midjourney. So something happened over there, and now I guess you just can't even do an image of him because a colonial era Donald Trump is getting censored on Midjourney. Like, it's a caricature. It's just for fun. I mean, what? So whatever, we'll live. All right, team, that's what I got. You guys all have a great day, and I shall see you tomorrow.